Good morning, students. Welcome to the class. Today's date is 23rd November 2020. As you know, I have introduced the lesson number 8, the Western Desert, during my live class. So here we have some subtopics which are the location and extent of the Western Desert, the effects of the physical features and climate on the region, the effects of region and climate on plants, animals and people, and then the measures taken by the people for water conservation. Now let us see the learning outcomes of today's discussion. So here are the learning outcomes: to be able to explain the extent of the Western Desert and to identify the features of the Western Desert. So these two are the learning outcomes of today's discussion. Let us read the conversation between Murad and Rashi. Murad is watching news on the TV. He looks excited. Murad: look, Rajasthan. I am going there tomorrow and it is on the news today. Then Rashi says, what for? Murad: Rajendra Singh, the waterman of India, is being interviewed. Meher: waterman? Who is that? Like Spider-Man? Murad: no, silly. He has done a lot of good work for the desert state of Rajasthan. He has taught people how to save water. So we have already discussed that Rajasthan, which is the part which is covered with desert, is very hot and the source of water is very less there. Therefore, people hardly settle there in this kind of area. So then, and those people who are living there, they are facing a lot of problem due to water, due to less quantity of water. Now this is a man, Rajendra Singh is known as the waterman of India. Why? Because he has done a lot of work for the development of the people related to the water, and also he has taught the people of Rajasthan, how to save water, and then they can use it in small quantity and utilize it. So this is how he has helped the state of the desert state. Rajasthan is also called the desert state. So he has Rajendra Singh has helped the people of the desert state of Rajasthan. So the question is, do you think people living in Rajasthan face water problems? Yes, we have already discussed. Yes, the people of Rajasthan, they do face water problems. So we have already discussed the desert, but today I am going to repeat the definition of desert again. So what is a desert? A desert is an area that receives very less or no rainfall and has very few plants. When there is less rainfall or no rainfall and very few plants, you can imagine that there is no water available or very less quantity of water in that region. So it is very difficult for the people to survive there. As you can see here, the Western Desert. The Western Desert lies in the northwestern. So this is the location of the Western Desert. The Western Desert lies in the northwestern part of India. It is a sandy and rocky region. It is also called the Great Indian Desert or the Thar Desert. Now remember one thing, a single particular region has three names: the Western Desert, the Great Indian Desert and the Thar Desert. If the question comes, what is the another name for the Thar Desert, what is the another name for the Great Indian Desert, don't get confused. It's the Western Desert, Great Indian Desert and the Thar Desert. The three names belongs to one particular region. So the Western Desert, where it lies in the northwestern part of India. As you can see on the screen, this is the map I am going to show you. Okay, so this part is the northeast, right? Then this part will be the northwest. So that means it lies in the northwest part of India. Clear? And it is sandy and rocky region. We already know that desert areas are sandy and there are in between there are some rocks. And then you have to remember the two names, the Great Indian Desert or the Thar Desert. Let us move towards the next one. So here we have to discuss, we are going to discuss about the Western Desert. The Indian part of the Thar Desert stretches from the Aravalli Hills to the border of Pakistan in the west. Now, remember one thing, if you go back here, the Thar Desert, it also falls into the west, into the some areas of Pakistan. Remember, but we are talking about the Indian part of the Thar Desert, as we belong to India and we are discussing about the Indian Western Desert. So here the Indian part of the Thar Desert stretches from the Aravalli Hills to the border of Pakistan in the west. It further extends into the Punjab and Sindh areas of Pakistan. The Run of Kutch in Gujarat is to its south and the border of Haryana is to its north. It covers more than half of Rajasthan and a few parts of Gujarat, Punjab and Haryana. Important cities of the Thar Desert: Jaipur, Jodhpur, Udaipur and Jaisalmer in Rajasthan. So you can see that it starts from the Aravalli Hills. It starts from the Aravalli Hills to the border of Pakistan in the west. Then it extends from into the Punjab and Sindh areas of Pakistan, which we don't need it because we are talking about the India. But if it comes as a whole, then you have to mention it. Then towards the south of Thar Desert, we have the Gujarat, the Run of Kutch in Gujarat, and towards the north we have the Haryana. It is till the border of Haryana. Then it also covers some part of Gujarat, Punjab and Haryana. Then the important cities are Jaipur, Jodhpur, Udaipur and Jaisalmer in Rajasthan. Now here you can see on the screen. So this is the Thar Desert here. And if you go to the south, here we have the Run of Kutch, right? Then if you go to the north, we have Bhatinda, Ludhiana, okay, that falls into the Punjab here. Then we have the Aravalli range here. It starts from the Aravalli range to the west of the Pakistan. Here is the Pakistan border, okay. So this is how the location is described here. I will be sharing the map in the Google Classroom so that you will be able to understand in a better way. So you don't have to worry about it. So here, as you can see, to the south we have the Run of Kutch. Then towards the north we have the Haryana. Then we have the Aravalli range. It starts from Aravalli range and then towards the west, it till the border of the Pakistan. Now let's move to the features of the Thar Desert. So the features of the Thar Desert are: it has taken many thousands of years for this desert to form. Winds carried sand from different places and left it in this region. And that is how the Thar Desert has been formed. It was not formed in a single day. It took thousands and thousands of years to form this desert. And how the desert was formed? When the winds carry the sand and drop it, and the way this river bring the soil, the erosion, no, the fertile soil, and then deposit at the same place again and again, what it forms delta, right? In the same way, when the wind carries sand and it deposits at the same place again and again for many thousand years, what will happen? That region will become sandy and therefore the desert will be formed. Then the famous hill station of this region called Mount Abu is in the Aravalli Hills. So Mount Abu is one of the most famous place and we have heard a lot of it. It is very kind of familiar to us, okay. So as you can see on the book, as on the screen as well, on the right side you can see that a tourist site at Mount Abu. So this is a tourist site, and it is one of the famous hill station of Rajasthan or of the Thar Desert, which is located in the Aravalli Hills. Now let's move towards the next part, which is the workbook. So here we have the multiple choice questions. This is your classwork. Do it right now. As we discuss, you're going to write it down on your book. So in which part of India is the Great Indian Desert located? Northeastern India, Northwestern India, Southeastern India, or Southwestern India? So we have already discussed it's the Northwestern India. So the option is B. Then question number 2 is which of the following cities is located in the Great Indian Desert? Jamshedpur, Jodhpur, Jangipur and Jabalpur. So here we know that we have already studied that the important cities of Rajasthan. So Jodhpur is the correct answer, number B. Then let's come to the fill in the blanks. Dash carried sand from different places and deposit it to form the Great Indian Desert. Of course, the wind. Wind carried sand from different places and deposited it to form the Great Indian Desert. Then question number 4 is the dash is to the south of the Great Indian Desert. Remember, the Run of Kutch in Gujarat. The Run of Kutch is to the south of the Great Indian Desert. Then it was repeated again. Let's come to question number 5. What is the other name for the Great Indian Desert? Thar Desert, or you can write the the Western Desert is the whole desert area. The Great Indian Desert or the Thar Desert. Then question number 6. Name a famous hill station in the Aravalli Hills, which is Mount Abu. Then short answer question. Name the states covered by the Great Indian Desert. The Great Indian Desert covers more than half of Rajasthan, a few parts of Gujarat, Punjab and Haryana. So these are the discussions from the workbook. I hope you have wrote it down as we have discussed it. Now let's move towards the questions from my side. So here is the question. A famous hill station of the Western Desert is located in these hills, which are also a part of the Peninsular Plateau. Name the hills. The question goes to you. Next question is mention 2 ways to save water. So you have to mention any 2 ways how you're going to save water and utilize it in the future. So we have come to the conclusion of today's discussion. So what have we learned? We have learned the location of the Western Desert. Then we have learned the extent of the Western Desert, the major cities of the Thar Desert and the features of the Thar Desert. So these are the 4 subtopics that we have touched and discussed it today in our class. I hope you are going to read the chapter and study it well. So I'm going to conclude my